What if improving your communication skills could help you grow your business? What if you had the confidence to communicate in a way that helped you advance in your career? Or what if you could communicate in a way so that you could share an idea so effectively that it made you more money? Sounds good, doesn't it? Well, stick around because that's exactly what I'm going to share today in this video. Over the next few minutes, I'm going to be revealing to you 5 powerful communication laws that are guaranteed to make you a better communicator. These tips, they are practical, they're actionable, and they're designed to help you achieve real results. Whether that's winning a promotion, whether that's landing your next big client, or whether that's building stronger relationships. But before we dive into the laws, there is something that's really crucial to remember, and that is that communication, it isn't just something that you do, it becomes an extension of who you are. What I'm going to show in this video, they're not quick tricks, they're skills that you need to develop, they're skills that you need to practice, and they need to become something that you embody as part of your personal communication growth journey. Also, make sure that you stick around till the very last tip. It's going to be a game changer that ties everything that I'm going to share in this video together. So let's kick things off with law number 1, which is the law of connection. This is the cornerstone of all communication. So here's a thought that I invite you to ponder on. Communication isn't about you, it's about them. And when I say them, I mean your audience, your team, your family, whoever you are speaking or communicating to. You see, if you don't connect with them, then nothing else really matters. If you don't connect with them, then ultimately you are really just talking to yourself. So when I'm stood waiting to go on stage before a presentation, I'm thinking about how I'm about to show up for the audience. I'm thinking about what is my intention? What energy do I need to walk on stage with? How will I create a connection within the first few moments? Because here's the truth. It's not about my words. It's about how I make the audience feel. And there is some science to back this up. You see, our brains are wired for connection. You've probably heard about them, but mirror neurons in the brain, they fire when we feel understood or when we feel aligned with someone, which then creates empathy and trust. So when you focus on others, you activate this process naturally. So now that I've told you the law, let me make it practical for you. Before your next meeting, before your next presentation, or even just before your next conversation, stop thinking about what you're going to say and instead start thinking about your audience. Ask yourself a question. What do they need from me right now? Or how can I serve them? This mental shift is the fastest way to create a real connection. Next up, law number 2 is the law of visual expression. Now, let's be honest. People, they don't remember what they hear as much as what they see. And here's why. Your brain, it processes visuals way faster than it can text. And that's all thanks to the visual cortex. And when I say visuals, it's not just pictures when we're thinking about visuals, it's also gestures and your ability to tell a good story that paints a picture inside somebody's mind. These can anchor your message in a way that words could never do on their own. So imagine this, imagine that you're sitting in a presentation and the person who you're listening to, the speaker, is just droning on and on and on, just using words. Pretty boring, right? But then they show a powerful image on a slideshow or they tell a really vivid story and suddenly they've got your attention back. Now in my keynote, I talk about the power of a smile and I use this image, I'll put it up on the screen for you now. I use this image of a smiling monkey. And this is powerful. It's just a smiling monkey that appears as a big slide up on the screen. But when I speak with my clients a few months later, they will often make reference to the smiling monkey. It becomes a very memorable moment in the presentation. So let me now get this into a practical tip for you. In your next conversation or your next presentation, think about how you can show what you mean. Is that a story? It could even just be a photograph on your phone that you bring up and you show it to somebody if you're in a conversation. Or if you're delivering a presentation, it could be something as simple as stepping away from your notes so that you can engage with your audience with gestures. And something as small as that can make a huge difference in your communication. Law number 3 is the law of reading the room. It's a skill that separates good communicators from great ones. Your ability to read the room should never be underestimated. Being able to read the room, this ties into your brain's social cognition network, which helps you interpret people's emotions and it helps you adjust your approach as you are communicating. When you know how to read a room, you can meet people where they are at, and then you can lead them to whereabouts they need to go. So let me paint a bit of a picture for you here. Imagine that you're standing in front of a crowd and the energy is flat. You can see people, they're checking their phones, they're yawning. To be honest with you, for somebody who stands on stage, this is an absolute nightmare. So what do? You have to adjust. So think of it like a thermostat. A great communicator doesn't let the audience control the temperature of the room. A great communicator will set the temperature of the room. So let me make this practical for you. Before your next talk, before your next conversation, just take a moment to feel the room. It sounds a little bit woo-woo, but just get a bit of a vibe for the energy in the room. If it's low energy, you might want to start with getting the people to move their body or tell a higher energy story to shift the audience. This is something which, as an MC, and I MC a lot of conferences straight after lunch, there's normally this sort of very low energy vibe straight after lunch. So I know that I'll need to shift the energy in the room straight after lunch. Also, it could be that the room feels a bit tense. Maybe there was a pretty intense discussion just before you got up to speak. So in that situation there, maybe you could start with something calming or reassuring, and then you start to adjust your vibe so you can lead the audience to whereabouts you want to go. The fourth law in this video is the law of anticipation. So anticipation is like the secret sauce of engaging communication. So do you remember the blurred out text I showed you at the start of this video? It was like the whole five laws appearing up on the screen. That's an example of anticipation in action. It's a simple technique, but what it does is it creates curiosity and it keeps people engaged. And here's why it works. Your brain, it craves closure. So me showing you blurred out words on a screen, what it does is it opens up a loop that your brain then wants to close. Also, me doing this, it fires up the dopamine system. The dopamine system starts to kick in when curiosity is triggered, making us want to stick around and find out the answers. So when I'm up on stage and I'm speaking, I'll often say something along the lines of, I'm about to share something with you now that has a potential to change the way that you communicate forever. Instantly, the audience, they'll lean in, they're hooked because they're waiting for that big reveal, because I've created a loop. So again, like I've done in all the other tips, let me make this practical for you. Try this during your next conversation. I just want you to just tease something exciting. For example, you could say, you're not going to believe what I just saw on the way in this morning. And just notice how it keeps people glued and more interested in your message. The fifth and final law, the law that's going to tie it all together, is the law of adding value. This is the ultimate goal of any great communicator. As Maya Angelou once said, people, they won't remember what you said, but people would never forget how you made them feel. When you leave your audience with something meaningful, whether that's inspiration, whether that's knowledge, whether that's clarity around an issue that they had, you've added value to their lives. And this taps into the brain's reward system. When people feel that they've gained something valuable, it triggers a positive emotional response, which strengthens their memory of the interaction, which ultimately means it strengthens their memory of you. So to wrap this up and make it nice and practical for you, end every talk or every conversation just with a clear takeaway. If you can wrap it up into some clear bullet points, do that. Or just ask yourself the question, what can they do with this? How does this improve their life? Because action creates value. So to wrap this up, bring it home. In this video, I've covered 5 game-changing laws of communication. Number 1 was the law of connection. Focus on them, not on you. The second one was the law of visual expression, and that is show, don't tell. The third one was the law of reading the room, adapt to the energy and then lead. The fourth law was the law of anticipation, keep them hooked with curiosity. And the fifth law was the law of adding value, leave people with something that they can use. And I've just done the last law by recapping the 5 points that we went through in this video. Your challenge from watching this is to pick one of these tips and try it today. Whether you're leading a meeting, talking to a client, or having dinner with your family, start practicing these skills, because great communication isn't something that you do once, it's something that you live. It's something that needs to become part of who you are as a person. If you found this video helpful, please give it a little like, share it with a friend. Also, if you do like this content, then please subscribe for more tips on how to live a life less ordinary, and I'll see you in the next video.